Masuda. May her neshama have an aliyah, and also in the refuah shalema of Rabbi Nassim Maimon. It's one of our rabbis. He's going through surgery. Okay, today we're going to talk about co-creation. Co-creation, huge concept. Once you realize tonight, if you realize what you're creating at all times, you're going to be very careful on what you're thinking about. And this is one of the classes that these topics really, I've always heard this topic in a lot of the non-Jewish sources, but when you hear it in the Torah sources, when you hear the Nefesh HaChaim, when you hear the Zohar, when you hear the Malbim talk about it, it wakens you up, and you realize it is, co-creation is a real thing. So, again, we started this, just a little bit on a tangent, we started this 40-day thing, and most people say, what happens if I fall? What happens if I fall in this 40-day thing? Most people are always already thinking of falling. Like, what happens when you drop something on the street? What do? You pick it up. You don't think about picking it up. We have to get this, our mentality cannot be, what happens if I fall? Because once it's already in your head, in your subconscious, you're going to fall. You can't even think sometimes. You just got to go all in sometimes. So many people, they're just worried about, what happens if I fall? So you fall. You get back right up, and you start over and over again. It's just, there's too much. I get more questions about falling than walking. Stop worrying about the fall. Just walk, and don't think about the fall. That's one of the problems, because when you start thinking, oh my God, if I didn't fall, I'm never going to get a tikkun, and this and this and this, the next thing you know, you never get to it. You never get to it. So let's just take all the energy, because every time you think that you can't do something, you give it energy. And that's exactly what we don't want to happen. Okay? So a lot of people tell me, listen, I don't like the location of my life. Nothing's going good for me. I feel like I'm stuck. And I ask them, are you a tree? A tree is stuck. You're not stuck. You can change it. You're not a tree. A tree can only be a tree. You're a human being. An animal can only be an animal. Don't be a tree. You can move. Take action. That's the key. People have to understand. You're not a tree. You're a human being. Tomorrow you have free will. You can make a decision and your life changes. But everything changes again with the decision. So we have to take massive action that we are the ones responsible. So we're going to talk about creating today. And it's something very, Rav Nachman, he spoke, maybe he had 7 Torahs just about what thoughts create. And I think he went so deep in thoughts, and that's what really, when I first connected to Breslov, that's what really resonated with me. Because you don't hear so much about thoughts in other books, not like Rav Nachman addresses it. So again, we want to be able to be very careful when we think about, because anything you're very casual about in life, you're going to become a casualty to that. Whatever you're casual, if you're casual with your mind, you're going to be a casualty to your emotions. If you're casual with your diet, you're going to be in terrible shape. If you're casual with the Brit, you're going to be in somebody's house you don't want to be. So we have to get out of this casualty mode, because whatever a person becomes casual, he's going to become a casualty. I guarantee you. So we can't say, you know what, I'm good. The Yetzer Hara is bigger than you. So Rav Nachman always mentioned that we always have to pray. We have to pray for something, because otherwise we will become a casualty to the evil inclination. And that's exactly what's happening today. So what's the big thing that really makes people change? Okay, what makes people change? I think Tony Robbins had it right. It's all about leverage. It's all about leverage. What is leverage? Right? Everybody has two needs. Either the need to what? Avoid pain, and the need for pleasure. We always make those decisions. Whatever you're doing in your life, it's either to avoid pain or you want pleasure. So what makes a person change? When the guy says, you know what? I had enough. I'm changing. I'm going to keep the bread for 40 days. What gives them enough is the power of leverage. What is leverage? Think about it. What makes a guy, for example, the guy stops smoking after 30 years? When he goes to the hospital and the doctor tells him, by the way, you have lung cancer. That's the day his smoking stops. It's not that he could have done it before, but he only stops when he has enough leverage to be able to make that change. Remember, leverage is one of the biggest things for a person to have change. One time, I forget, maybe 2 years ago, I was running in a treadmill, and I was running out of air, and I was getting very tired very quickly. I said, I'm 36 years old back then. How come I shouldn't be tired like this? That leverage of being tired said, you know what, there's no way I'm going to be 36 and be out of breath. So I took enough leverage on myself and says, from now on, I'm losing weight, I'm getting in the top shape. That aha moment was what created reality. So we all have that leverage. For example, we're going to talk about the Brit. why it's so difficult for people to keep the Brit is because they don't realize that either way in life, to make a decision, you're going to have to deal with pain regardless. You don't understand. You're going to have to deal with pain regardless. Either you have temporary pain, and at the end of the day you're going to get pleasure, or you're going to delay what you're doing, and at the end of the day you're going to get massive pain. I got to deal with pain regardless. For example, working out. You're going to have to deal with the pain of being sore, of having the willpower, schlepping yourself in the gym. But at the end of the day, imagine if you don't do it in 5 years, what kind of shape you're going to be in. That pain is going to be much bigger than the pain of starting now. So if we understand that no matter what, I have to go through pain, I just have to make a decision, when do I want to deal with the pain? Do I want to deal with the pain 5 years ago? 5 years from now? When it gets really bad? Or do I want to deal with the pain right now? But this pain, right now, will turn eventually into pleasure. Right? We spoke about, like, the Brit. Why am I talking so much about the Brit? It's amazing how God created, now the Goyim are talking about the Brit. When the Goyim are talking about the Brit, there's a thing called the No Fap Challenge. You can look it up on YouTube. When the Goyim are telling you, by the way, now that I kept the Brit, my confidence is up, I have a better relationship with my wife, I have more clarity, I'm making more money, Google it, No Fap Challenge. When the Goyim are talking to you about this, it's a sign how much more we need to take it. So what makes a person keep the Brit? What is the factor for keeping the Brit? Is what? When we associate enough pain to not doing it. So, I'll just give you an example. You can apply this rule with anything else in life, whether it's weight, whether it's the Brit, whether it's anything. So let's look at, for example, if a person, what will this cost you? Right? Pain association question. What will this cost you? What's going to cost me to keep the Brit, for example? I'm just using the Brit. I can use diet. What's going to cost me? I'm going to have to restrain myself for 40 days. Okay? What has it cost you in the past? Lack of memory, not being focused, lack of self-confidence, constant impulses. So if you have enough pain, that's when you change. When you have enough leverage on yourself, that's when you change. So what is it costing you? It's costing you probably a shidduch. It's costing you a lot of stuff. People only change when they have enough pain to them not changing. When they associate enough pain for them not changing, that's when they change. People just don't change automatically. It's just not going to happen. Only when you say, wow, I'm losing money, I'm losing mental clarity, I don't have a shidduch, etc., etc. Is it really worth the little pleasure I'm getting? No, it's not really worth it. That's when change happens. When you can associate enough pain to not changing, that's when it changes. So I just wanted to tell that. So now we're going to take this concept and we're going to apply it to co-creation. So now I'm going to explain to you now how powerful your thoughts are. Okay? Now you're going to realize that if I'm not careful about what I'm thinking about at all times, what happens? Creations are made. Creations are made from our thoughts. Believe it or not. Reb Nachman talks about it all the time. The Zohar talks about it. We're going to go one by one and show you the different sources. Okay? So here Reb Nachman says here, in lesson 62 in Wisdom. He says, human thought has tremendous potential. Human thought has tremendous potential. Thought can actually bring many things, even inflation. When thought is intensely concentrated, it can exert great influence. That means every faculty of your mind, both conscious and unconscious, down to the innermost point. When you're able to do this with no distraction, you can actually create something. So it's usually when people are thinking of the worst to happen to them, what do? They're paralyzed and they're focusing on what they don't want to happen to them. And that can actually create something. That's the scary part about it. Because if you don't break your thought pattern, you can actually create something from your thoughts. Reb Nachman's telling it to you very carefully. If you think you're going to run out of money, if you think you're never going to get married, if you think you're never going to get a job, you're actually creating that to happen. That's according to Rabbi Nachman, lesson 62. He tells us very clearly. I remember why I'm so focused on people, on concentration, because I told him, if you can't get your concentration perfect, you're never going to get what you want. Because you have to be, what is he telling you here? In order to do this, you have to be focused without any distractions. That means a person has a goal. I want to keep the Brit for 40 days. He has to be so focused. Exactly what time he's going to say the Tikkun HaKlali. Exactly where he's going to say it. Exactly how he's going to feel when he's going to say it. Then you actually say it. When you say, it's nice to say it, you're not going to go, look, it's 7 o'clock. It's too late to say it. Do you understand? So we have to bring our focus, we have to be more focused. So Rav Nachman says it there. He says it also in lesson in here. Why are thoughts such a big deal? Because whatever you think about, you're eventually going to say. You don't just say things. You eventually say what you think about, right? When I say something bad to myself, I don't have Tourette syndrome and just say, ba 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 ba. You're thinking about it, you're ruminating about it, and eventually it comes out of your mouth. Once, I'm sure you know the power of speech. Once it comes out of your mouth, then you have to be careful. Because then that actually creates something. So that's why we have to be careful with the thought, because eventually the thought will actually create it from the speech. And then once you get to speech, once you start negative talking, then that creates that reality. He says here, Rav Nachman says, whatever a person thinks about, that's where he is. If you think about being in the gutter, that's where you are. Black and white. He says, whatever a person thinks about, that's where he is right now. So we have to realize we're always attracting something to us. You're either attracting positivity to you, or you're attracting garbage at all times. At all times. That's why we have to be so careful about thoughts. And this is religious sources. This is not some self-help book, guys. This is not Tony Robbins. This is reality. This is the Torah telling you you are a product of your thoughts. So what have you been attracting? And think about why you attract certain situations. It's because where your mind is at. Clearly, he says it. Whatever a person thinks about, that's where he is. Why is such a problem? Why is it so powerful? He says one can actually create things with one's mind. Guard your thoughts carefully, for thought can actually create a living thing. He says this is another Torah. He says why? Because the higher the faculty, the further it can reach. For example, I can kick something from here probably to there, right? I can throw something from here probably 50 yards, right? I can scream from here to probably a block away. But when you're mine, that hits all the way in heaven. So whatever you're thinking about is energy. So whatever your person thinks about, it's actually penetrating heaven. That's why it's so careful what we think about and realize that this is a real thing. So when a person is is always having negative thoughts, he closes up his creation. He closes up his heart. And if you close up your heart, what are you going to do? You stop your creation at that moment. Because the heart is where all the creation is. The Zohar is going to talk about it. I'm going to explain to you now. So the heart is what? The heart is your CEO. Everything's in the heart. Why a person can't pray? Because his heart is stuffed. That means we have to first work on the heart before we work on the mouth. You can't just speak and have feelings if the heart is not there. You can talk all day long, but if your heart is not there, then the expressions will never get out. So if we corrupt our heart, unfortunately, then we're actually creating negativity. That's why I talk so much. The word Breslov, Rav Nachman's teachings is Breslov, is Breslev, a soft heart. Rav Nachman's main thing was it's all about the heart. Where other sectors of Judaism, it's all about what? It's all about the mind, but no heart. So you see some religions, you go to some synagogues, and what do? It's just routine. There's no heart in it. You go there, everything's boring, they did the same thing yesterday, and there's no heart. The guy's not alive. So one of the things that we need to serve God is the heart. If you don't have a heart, what do you have? So we're working on, what do? We're working on circumcising the heart first. We circumcise the heart. Because once the heart is open, once the heart is connected, you're generally going to be drawn to God. So the heart is the first thing. If your mind is here and your heart is there, you're not connected, you're not making a pair. So you have to ask yourself, what's blocking my heart? Negative thoughts. That's the number one thing that will block your heart, is negativity. Negativity. Until you circumcise your heart, then you're able to change reality. Okay? Let's talk about. So now we understand how important it is. It's not just, I'm thinking about this. No. When a person, unfortunately, he becomes depressed, what's the problem about depression? Depression is Hashem removes himself from that person. If Hashem removes himself from that person, that means prophecy doesn't come to a person unless he's happy. That means, think about it. If I'm depressed and I'm making major decisions in my life, where am I getting decisions from? They're emotional decisions. And once you get into the emotional business, then anything can happen. That's why it's so scary. Here he's saying here, beautiful concept here. So the Malbim explains, so let's talk about this co-creation concept. Okay? The Malbim explains something very beautiful. This is so simple to understand, but yet it's so deep. He's saying here, Hashem arranged the world in such a way that all forces of nature and all worlds above, and all channels through which Hashem guides the world, all mirror the deeds of men, for better or worse. You understand? You are. I'm going to explain to you now that you are the painter. This has been compared. One second. This can be compared to those who think very, very deeply about an invention of a musician. For example, we know when something resonates, there's a small harp. The Malbim says the small harp is us, the large harp is Hashem. Whatever tune you're singing, that's the same tune they're singing upstairs. You understand? So if you're not careful about what state you're in, you're going to be singing some nasty tunes. If you're not able to interpret life the right way, if you're not able to see the good in things, what's going to happen? Your small harp is just going to play a mirror harp upstairs. So when I see people and they're crying and they're in pain, I say, listen, we can cry together or we can cry to get better. Crying is not going to do nothing for you, because what's crying going to do? It's just they're crying above. Maybe you're crying for no reason. Maybe you're not focusing on what you have. I met a couple the other day. They have 4 kids, have 4 healthy kids. And one thing goes wrong in business, the guy's crying all over the place. I said, why don't you go to a cancer ward and see what a mother's going through just for one child with cancer? You would jump in to see how happy you are. So what happens is when we usually fall into negative states is when we're really not focusing on what we have. We're focusing on some stupid thing that's getting us out of focus. So if you go to a cancer ward and you see a child, God forbid, sick, and you realize, wow, I have 4 healthy children. What the hell am I crying about? Right away you change your state. That's why a Zamra is so important, because a Zamra is always focusing on your good points. Rav Nachman said there's one Torah that always say that you should live with this Torah your whole life, is a Zamra. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you have. Because that's the way life is going to treat you. So here he's saying here, if a person plays good tunes and song of praise, then Hashem is going to have chesed on him on the large harp. If you're happy with what you have, He's going to give you more things to be happy about. So you're the musician. Person is the musician. What are you playing? What are you playing? Are you playing sad tunes? Upstairs they're playing the sad tunes. So that's where we get people to break their states. So I tell people, listen, we can talk about this problem all day long, but what's the solution? Because your life will never change unless you change the way you look at something. Very, very deep concept and very, very important. Because if you stay in a blaming, if you stay in this mode, you're going to get that your whole life. And that's what the problem is. So we got to be able to constantly realize, I'm the musician. I'm the one playing the harp. What am I playing at all times? And if I'm not playing a good tune, if I'm playing a sad tune, don't expect a happy tune upstairs, and don't expect reality to change for you. Because that's the tune you're playing. You understand? That's the problem. If you're not careful to find good tunes, upstairs they're going to say the same thing. He's saying here. So with this we conclude the 13 attributes of mercy. It can resemble our Creator, because the segula is whatever a person acts below, he merits the same chesed above. Sometimes Hashem will send you can have a very rough day. And what happens is Hashem knows you need mercy. So what is He going to do? He's going to send you somebody to give charity to. Because right now you need mercy. So He's going to send you somebody. So you're able, when you give Him charity, you can change your state in Shemayim. So that's why sometimes we get tested with people giving us charity. We get tested with somebody I need a favor. Who sent you that favor? Hashem sent you the guy so you can do a favor so you can change your state. Because it just doesn't happen automatically. Very, very, very important lesson. So remember, you are the musician. That's from the Tomer Devorah from Moshe Cordovera. Another very, very similar comment is from the Malbim. What does the Malbim say? These are all top Rishonim. These were top Tzaddikim that wrote this 500 years ago. What does the Malbim say? He says, when Hashem created man, He said to the angels, let us create man in our image and our likeness. Rashi explains in our image means in our form. We are created in the image of God. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. If you knew how powerful that was, you'd know how much greatness. That's why I always tell people, you have so much potential inside of you, but you're not using it. You're running like a rat in a circle. You have so much potential. Get out of this problem and move on. What does he say, the Mabim? He says, the Mabim explains the Hebrew word Betzemo, our inner image. The word Sal, what does the word Sal mean? It means a shadow. He says a person's shadow shows only his vague outline with no details of colors or appearances. Basically what he's saying here is you're getting a canvas every day. Paint the picture. The canvas is given to you by Hashem. You paint whatever you want to paint for that reality. If you look at your day and you're not interpreting correctly, then what are you going to do? It's going to be gray. It's going to have dark clouds. It's going to have misfortune. It's going to have negativity. Who gave you the painting? Why are you painting? How many paintings have you painted that way? If you have negative thoughts, if you have negative beliefs, if you have no self-confidence, you're going to paint a big disaster in your life. And then you expect something to change. So we realize the ball's in your court. Once I realized the ball's in my court and I realized how powerful my thoughts are, I was always careful to stay in positive moods. If I would have a situation that wouldn't make me so happy, the Baal Shem Tov says, never say you had a bad day. Say you had a bitter day. Why? Because bitterness, we know medicine is bitter. Sometimes you need a little bitterness in life because the bitterness will actually heal you. So you can't say, I had a bad day. I had a character building day. I had a day where it could have been, I'm in a day of growing. Oh, I had a bitter day. Bitter means I needed medicine that day. Maybe my ego was inflated, I needed some action. So if we look at life that way, then meanwhile, the half of the painting is negative, I can change half of the day, I can rechange the painting. So remember, you get a canvas every single day, you decide what you want on it. This is from the Malbim. These are real sources. This is not some source from like Bozo the Clown. This is the Malbim telling you. And I realize when I'm able to see that. Why? Because he says HaKadosh Baruch Hu created person. He created a person as an olam katan, as a miniature world. You're created as a miniature world, a microscopic world. Man was charged with filling the picture, whatever features you want, whatever colors you want, whatever would you. So if you realize this now, I just gave you two. I'm going to continue to give you more. But if you realize where I'm going here, you have to be very careful about what you're focusing on every single day, because that's the picture that's coming out. That's the picture that's coming out. And you really can't blame anybody, because you're in charge of painting and you're the musician. Who are you going to blame? That's why it's necessary to explain how the system works. Okay? So that's another source. So now we already have the Malbim, we already have Moshe Cordovero. Now we're going to get to the Zohar. Okay, Zohar, what can you say about Zohar? It says, David HaMelech puts it like this. He says, God is your shadow at your right hand. Just as the shadow mimics every day as one's action, the Zohar explains, if a person smiles, heaven smiles at him. If he's sad and depressed, heaven judges him with strictness. And so it says, serve Hashem with gladness. That's what Breslov is all about, happiness. Happy people have better lives. Depressed people stay in their rut. Because this is what's happening. Heaven is not smiling at you because you're not looking at life the right way. And this is from the Zohar. So we are in control of everything. You are the solution, you are the problem. When you have that mentality, I am the solution, I am the problem, then you can take control of your life. When you blame other people, which I hear all day long, my wife did this to me, my mother did this to me, my mother-in-law, everybody else, blah, 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 blah. Nothing changes. The minute you take massive action, says, I don't care. I am responsible. I'm not going to paint that picture. And what does the Yetzer Hara want you to do? He wants you to paint that disastrous picture. Here he's saying, Rav Nachman saying. Rav Nachman says here, that from the Zohar, it says, every day contains hidden good, but accompanied with each day is an angel that prevents people who are unworthy from partaking in the good. So every day has the good. Every day, if you look, Rav Nachman says that when a person's having a bad day, he should look to see the good day in that. Look to see the good in that day. The Yetzer Hara is going to tell you, it's over. You're never going to happen. It's never going to work out for you. That's what he wants you. Because it would be so easy then people all day long would have good pictures. But the Zohar is going to show you the opposite. That's why God created us with two thoughts. Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. Your job is to manage your Yetzer Tov over your Yetzer Hara. That means you should care nothing about feelings. Feelings and emotions should be a person, and I can't express to you. When I wake 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when I go work out, I never feel like doing it. You never, unless you're on some kind of drugs, you're never going to feel like doing something that's really, really good for you all the time. You have to say, I don't care about my feelings. This is coming from the Yetzer Hara. Because if I don't do what I say, we spoke about self-confidence, I'm going to feel bad. When your behavior determines your feelings, that's when you're in control of life. So I always tell myself, I don't feel like preparing for the class. Oh, another class I got to do tomorrow. How many more do I have to do? That's the little voice telling me garbage. I don't care about my feelings. So when people tell me, I feel this. I couldn't care less about your feelings. What are we doing about the situation today? Because I know the ball's in their court. That means if you don't understand that you need to change your mind, change your states constantly, you're going to fall into a victim. That's what Reb Nachman says. Whatever he thinks, that's where he is. You have Reb Nachman, you have the Zohar, you have the Mabim, you have 5, 6 sources already telling you, you are the pilot, you are the musician, you are the painter, you are the creator, you are everything. Take back your life by taking massive action and painting what you want, not what you don't want. Let's hear another couple of things. Okay? If you didn't get enough sources, the Zohar says here that we spoke about the heart also. He says that the Beit HaMikdash is a person's heart. He says when a person brings garbage, Zohar summarizes, when God created man, he fashioned him according to the heavenly model and the source of strength in the center of his body, namely the heart. The heart directs all parts of the body, limbs and organs are all dependent upon it. That's when if somebody gets good news or bad news, what happens? The heart hits him first. He gets a heart attack, God forbid. When you get bad news, your foot doesn't hurt. Your heart. You start because the heart is the CEO. The heart feels everything. So he's saying here that if a person realizes that when he brings in garbage in his mind, what is he actually doing? It's like bringing, therefore, in the indecent thought enters one's mind, he's actually bringing a harlot into the Beit HaMikdash. That's the equivalent, the Zohar says. When a person brings garbage into his mind, into his heart, he's actually bringing a harlot into the Beit HaMikdash. Pretty scary stuff. Pretty scary stuff. So, now you understand how powerful this stuff is. So let's talk about how to fix it. Okay, let's talk about how to fix it. Now you got enough, I gave you enough leverage to understand, wow, you know what? If I'm not careful about what I'm thinking about, I've been painting pretty bad pictures. Or I've been painting pretty good pictures. Look at areas in your life where you had a lot of positivity. Look at the pictures you painted in that area of your life. Look at areas of your life, maybe your body, maybe your head, whatever it is that didn't have so much success. Look at the reality, what you were thinking about. Look at the picture you were painting in that part of your life. So if you realize that what area of my life that I don't like the particular picture, I need to go back and start painting a different picture. That means I got to change my story. I got to change my story. I got to change my belief. I got to have a moon in that situation. Okay, look what Reb Nachman says here. Now that we know, we spoke about thoughts, we spoke about co-creation, that it is a real thing, co-creation, and it does exist, just like all the books, the self-help books tell you. Okay, but let's talk about what does it mean what happens to a person when he's able to change his mind? What happens? What's happening in heaven? What names are being used when the person's changing his mind? Look, I'm going to give you one story, and then I'm going to talk about lesson 106. He's saying here, there was a story from the Petach Eliyahu. There's a story about Rabbi Elimelech of Lubavitch. The Noam Elimelech found himself in a town suffering with a terrible plague. He fasted 3 or 4 days to stop the plague. He didn't know what was going on. Okay? To another plague, he called a dream. He had a dream from Shemayim, and who came to him in his dream? The Maggid of Mezrish. So the Maggid of Mezrish, he says, the Noam Elimelech asked the Rebbe, why is the situation so bad here? Why is there such a bad plague here? The Maggid answered him let me go upstairs in Shemayim and let me see what you're talking about. He went back to Shemayim and he says, I don't understand. Everything looks good upstairs. So but he's saying the normal Elimelech says, I don't understand. Look at this plague. Look how bad things are going here. There's a horrible plague. So what happened? Then the normal Elimelech woke up and he was a changed person, realizing that there was a much bigger story going on. Right? So what happened? Eventually, he didn't understand it. So what did he do? He changed his state. He started realizing there's a much bigger story going on. He started dancing, and the whole town started dancing. What happened? He says the whole community started dancing, and the heavenly decree was broken. This happened all because he changed himself. When the normal Elimelech changed the way he viewed the situation, then Shamayim changed for him. So let's see why. It's because we are a vessel. Light is constantly coming down, but when we don't think properly, and when we don't have emunah in a situation, what happens? We take the shefa, the abundance of light, and we shorten it. We narrow it to very, very slim based on our reality. You understand? The last part of the 10 sfirot is malchut, which means emunah. A person that doesn't have emunah or have any confidence, he takes all the shefa from above and he squeezes the pipe so little that he only gets drips. What do we need to do? We need to go and open up the pipe. It's not the problem that there's plenty of water coming down, but the pipe is not getting enough water. So what did he do here? From this we saw that as he shifted his consciousness from small-mindedness to gadlut, the shefa that came down to him went from small to big. You understand? When he changed his mind, the shefa changed. In Shamayim, they changed the abundance that came to him. Shefa doesn't only mean money; it can mean health. You know, there's a study now showing that 1/3 of healing is belief. Just belief, nothing else. Forget a doctor even touched you. 0. 1/3 is just belief. If you know 1/3 of healing is belief, at least get your 33% in. By believing, you can get healed. So what are we saying here? He's saying here, what happens is we have parts of our life that we don't see the bigger picture. We're walking into the middle of a movie and we don't know what's going on. So what happens? You despair. You think of the worst. And then we always stay in that state and that becomes our reality. So we have to understand there's a much, much bigger picture. That whenever we don't understand, whenever we're confused about something, is because we're in a state of mochin kadnut, which means small-mindedness. Small-mindedness. When you're in a state of small-mindedness, then the shefa upstairs can only come to you small. When you're a big ticket guy and you're open to big opportunities and you have a big mentality, mochin kadnut, then the shefa then changes. But it doesn't change automatically. It changes only when you change the way you perceive a situation. You understand? When a person changes, then it changes for him. Very simple. So when a person realizes, then he realizes, wow, how am I interpreting things? Because remember, things don't come with meaning. What does this mean to me? I was going out with a girl, the girl broke up with me. What does that mean to me? Does that mean the girl wasn't for me? Does it mean I'm not good enough for her? Does it mean there's a much better girl opportunity? Whatever a person's going through in his life, the bigger the darkness that he's going through, the bigger the light he's going to get. I went through a tremendous darkness 4 or 5 years ago. What a darkness I went through. But the light, when I changed my perception, when I got out of that situation, the light was huge. So you're going into a tzimtzum. Whatever the degree of the darkness in a person's life is the degree of the opening in a person's life. That's what we need to have emunah. Because with emunah, a person can only have emunah. That's the only option he has. Let's talk about what Rav Nachman say about changing the way you look at something. He says in lesson 106. Okay? Understand this concept that not everybody is getting. Hashem uses certain names on certain people. Right? We know Hashem has many names. The name Elokim is a name of judgment. That's the name of the people that are depressed get. That's the name of Teva. That's the name that comes when a person is not seeing the good in something. You ever have a friend, he's telling you his problems, you know, I can't believe my day. I got a speeding ticket, I got a flat tire, and this guy's going through, his house is going to be foreclosed on, and he'd wish he'd be in that position. What do you tell the guy? Listen, thank God, it's just a flat tire. Stop making a big deal about it. Another person sees it in a different way than this guy. You understand? So Hashem uses different names on people depending on what your state is. If a person's looking at life, what life is happening to him as a victim, Hashem uses the name Elohim on the person. If a person is big-minded and he has a emunah, then Hashem uses the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is Chesed. Let's explain why. He's saying here in the Talmud, there is no poverty other than dat. A person is only suffering is because he has no dat. He doesn't have the knowledge in that situation. The importance of having these classes daily, it's not because you need to listen to something in the car. It's because you constantly need more dat to handle the new situations in your life. Because situations always change. Life is going to throw you curveballs all day long. So if you're a guy that listens to classes once in a while, what happens? Your problems are not going to match your dat. And that's what happens when a person can't handle life. What's one of the signs of depression? What's one of the signs of depression? A person is frustrated, he doesn't know where to start. He doesn't have the knowledge on where to begin. Depression is really, I'm frustrated. That means I have so many problems, I don't even know where to start. I don't have a mind to get me out of this problem. So what is he saying here? He's saying any kind of poverty means confusion, not just money. Any kind of poverty, where a person doesn't get it, it's only in lack of doubt. So what is he saying here? He says he must see that all his wisdom and increased efforts, he must constantly go from an expanded consciousness, from constricted to expansion. You have to constantly go from constricted consciousness to expansion. What is he saying? When a person is lacking doubt, he's unable to resolve the questions and doubt that plagues his mind. Why? Because he's confused. When a person's confused, what is he going to do? He's going to think about the problem, he's not going to take action. When a person's confused, that means he's in a state of sleep. His mind is asleep. He's stuck. That, I would say today, is a person's depressed. He's stuck. He's in a state of, he's missing the information to get him out of that situation. You understand? So that person, unfortunately, is what? Is in a state of sleep. That person's going to do, usually when a person's in that kind of state, he's going to do things that are not good for him. When a person is depressed, what is he going to do? He's going to eat terrible. He's going to be lazy. He's going to dump all his responsibilities and say, leave me alone. That guy's never going to get out of the problem. Only when he's able to realize, wow, you know what? Now I know I'm in this situation. I finally got it. When he changes his state, then he goes from Mochim Kadlut to Mochim Gadlut. So what is he saying, Reb Nachman, here? He's saying, when a person changes the state from Mochim Kadlut to Mochim Gadlut, then all harsh judgments are mitigated. The minute you change your state, then Hashem changes the state for you. From Dinim to Chesed. You understand? So I can have a different name on me. Two people can be in the same situation. Two people are judged by different names. I know it's a little complicated, this lesson, but the bottom line to this lesson is you have to be careful on the victim mentality, blaming mentality, because that mentality is a mentality that brings more dinim to you. You understand? When happy people get happy things, depressed people get depressed things, worse things. Usually when a person says, how worse can my day get? Oh, wait. Then you get a flat tire. How much worse can it get now? Then this happens to you, and that happens to you. When you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. Correct? When you ask stupid questions, you get stupid answers. So what is he saying here? When a person changes his mentality, when he changes the way he views things, what happens? Then a different name of Hashem goes on him. The name of Kel and Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is what? Is the name of compassion. It's compassion. So if I'm in a state of Elohim, it's dinim. Judgments all day long. I'm stuck. Only when I change my mind. Only when I change the way I look at things. Only when I change the picture. Then I go to Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Only when I can get to Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. That's the only way it happens. It doesn't happen by mistake. You don't just wake up and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to be good to you. No, when you see things differently, when you change your perception, then reality changes for you. So when I tell people, you got to change the way you're looking at it. Otherwise, you're stuck. Because what happens? That clogs up the heart. That clogs up creation. So that's why depression, God forbid, is so dangerous. It's so dangerous, depression. It's one of the most dangerous things. We had a guy yesterday, the kid was found in a bathroom on heroin. This is what's going on. People are dealing with problems and they can't handle the problems. Now, we have to understand, life is not going to come to you as a silver tray. It's going every single day, like I said, has a chaos, has night and day. It's very easy to smile when it's the day. Everybody can smile when it's the day. When it's the night in your life, that's when you have to smile. Because otherwise you don't see the day. That's the thing. That's called a tzimtzum. What is a tzimtzum? A tzimtzum is what? Is a contraction of light. Every day we go through tzimtzums. For example, once a person starts going on one level, then, for example, you had a great day. You sold $10,000 in business in a retail store. The next day, people normally assume, why? If I made 10 grand yesterday, I should be making 11 tomorrow. So what happens when you make 1,000 tomorrow? What do? What do people say? What happened? He forgets about the 10 grand and he focuses on the 1,000. He says, wow, I thought this business is good. Now the business is garbage. No, you just had a great day. You had a great light. And now you're creating the new day. Now, you're going to have the $1,000 day, but the next day could be 11,000. So we always have that pattern of going in life up, then you have to have a little retreat. Up, and then you have to have a little retreat. That's how Hashem created the world. There's no such thing as up, because He had to. Let me ask you a question. What happens to the sun when a new day comes? It has to contract. The sun goes down. The light goes down into the world. The moon comes up. That's the night. That's when we have to have a emunah and create what we want. But the sun is not going to stay there forever. We have to understand that. So when the sun goes down, what are you thinking? Is the sun never going to come back again? Or, it's okay, this is just a temporary situation. The sun's going to re-come back again. Just like it came for me the rest of my life. And it's like it's always come to me in my life. But what happens is when people get the moon and the sun goes down, then they say, it's over. It's over. All you have to do is have a little patience and the sun will come right back up. Patience is required because every single day, remember, chaos comes before light. Chaos, light. Chaos, light. That's the way it works. If you know the system, then you don't tie your emotions to it. You just say, okay, right now it's the night. What am I going to do in the night? I'm going to create what I want the next day. So when I have nights in my life, a night could be shalom bayit, a night could be business problems, a night could be financially. All you have to do when it's night, it's God's light is contracted. So now, a new vacated space is made, a new creation is made. Focus on what you want to happen, not when you don't want to happen. The nights is when you have to create. The days is when you have to be happy. But the night is your job to create what you want for the next day. The shidduch didn't go well. The day didn't go well. What do? Let me create another day for tomorrow. If the day didn't go good, maybe the girl doesn't like me. Maybe nobody's going to like me. So that's the night of your life, your whole life. So when a person is able to make that change, and he knows how to deal with he knows how to manage his nights and days, that's success. You see football teams one day, 49-0, the next day, what happened? They get blown out. What happened? They had a great day, and they had a night. So that's the problem. The people are giving up at night. The night in your life is when your person's giving up. That's when there's chaos. Hashem is always in the chaos, but what does Hashem do? He has to what? He has to basically create for a new creation to come. He has to separate himself. He's always there, but he has to create a constriction, a lack of light. So you don't see that there's a Hashem in the picture. But Hashem is there, He's just creating the next day. So our job really is in the nights of your life. What are you creating? What does your picture look like? What tune are you singing? That's what you're responsible for. What do you do when it's a night in your life? When it's a day, ride the day. But when it's the night, I'm not going to tie my emotions to it. I'm not going to think about the worst case scenario. I'm not going to start becoming a catastrophe. I'm not going to start fortune telling, which people do. They start fortune telling. They start creating catastrophes. they start creating this imagination. God gave you imagination. You have your job is to make the imagination, to turn the imagination for you. You can either have a dream or you can have a nightmare. That's when we have to create, at the night. Our nights are either we're creating what you want, with your dream, or you're creating your nightmare. And that's the difference between between a person succeeding in life and a person not succeeding in his life. We all get the nights. How are you managing your nights? That's the question. How are you managing your nights? What are you creating at night? That's really the question in our life. Once we're able to control that, and once we're able to, when a person has a night, what does he say? What he should say? Wow, thank you for yesterday. What a beautiful day I had yesterday. Your job is to focus on one thing. You can't focus on two things. You focus on what the good you had yesterday. Okay, I didn't make a sale today, but yesterday I did. Or you can focus on, I didn't make any money today. Look at the two different people, same situation. One guy's smiling, he's excited for the next day. The other guy, doomsday. And that's really, if you know how to manage this, that's really success in life. All right? That's today's class.